I'm a professor of international political economy here at Peking University, based in Beijing. EU-China relations and the relationship between EU member states and China relations are sometimes confluted. On the Chinese side, I would think the challenge is that it's very difficult for, let's say, corporate executives, even some college professors, to differentiate between EU and the EU member state and to understand how EU relates to its member states and to understand the EU, the societal reactions to China and EU relations. You have to bear in mind that it's not really less than 20 years since the Chinese companies have the capacity, have much of a value when they approach markets in Europe directly, rather than just through a product trade. And Chinese travelers, tourists, go to EU, go to Europe, but nevertheless, they're still at the lower end of the market. They have to be following Chinese language speaking tour guides. They cannot be exploring. So if I make it short, Chinese understanding of Europe, of EU and its member states, European societies, continues to be very thin. We don't have that reservoir of knowledge, much less any expertise. I would think it would be very useful for EU and China to conclude a bilateral investment treaty. It may not be perfect. It has been in the discussing for a good number of years, but the bilateral investment treaty is significant for China because the rules-oriented approach to management that the EU has done quite well. The EU excels globally in doing that. That rules-based approach to business management is what we need here in China to develop our society more structurally. We cannot afford more of these case-by-case, project-by-project, leader-by-leader thing that opens a lot of room for unaccountability, that leaves a lot of room for corruption, although, China has been known to be cracking down on that. But at the end of the day, you need to give different parties a common roadmap. So the bilateral investment treaty is useful, not just because of China-EU relations. More fundamentally, it's useful for the development of China itself. And secondly, there is a new opening in the climate change area. China just announced a climate neutral goal for its economy by 2060. Now, 2060, we have 40 more years to go. But on the other hand, this does open up room for, earlier we talked about connectivity in terms of truly clean energies, in terms of lower carbon or carbon reduction manufacturing, and in terms of working on disaster mitigations. So we, regardless of whether or not other countries, what they do with the Paris Climate Agreement, China and the EU should move into action. And that's action meaning project-specific, product-specific, standard-specific. Now, a third issue area that we can go on working on, this is really adding up to what was achieved in the past, is to work on the international harmonization of technological standards for food, for industrial processed materials, and even for labor. Because one of the challenges or risks to the evolution of the world economy would be, let's say, countries start to, quote unquote, take matters into their own hands. That would increase the costs of international transactions. We have to be realistic in the sense that United Nations agencies can probably provide, they will not really be taking in the initiative, but they can provide a very useful conduit for Chinese and EU actors to together move this forward. Let's face it, both within China and within EU, there are voices challenging any more cooperation. So that would be one conduit. But then companies, the multilateral companies, especially European ones and more Chinese ones, they should be encouraged to take the initiative and basically tell the policymakers this, a roadmap would be conducive to their development 20, 30, 40 years down the road.